Welcome to Workflow Approval for XPages, creating a new application. In this session, we're going to take a look at creating a new application database for a vacation request application. We'll create the application documents and necessary profile documents. We'll create a new rule process, create a new input custom control for the vacation requests, create navigation and view controls to be able to work through the data. And so then we'll take a look and see how it looks and how it works. So without any further process, let's get on with the demo. So here we are in the designer client, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new application database, and we're going to call it vacation requests. So I'm going to Control N, create a new database, put it on the server, call it vacation requests, and change this down here. And I'm going to put it into the folder XPages demo on the server, okay? So there it is, XPages demo vacation request. That's the name of the database. Next, I want to make sure that I create a full text index for searching on a creation. You can encrypt them if you wish, but that's up to you as you go through that. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select the WFS app templates NTF that is in the root directory. This one here is in XPages, and it's the same thing, but anyway, we'll take this one here and the other thing to make sure you do is click that off. Do not inherit future design changes, because you're going to make changes to this database as you go through it, and you don't want to be having the updates overwrite it. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to say yes, I want to index it now, and yes, I want to add it to this. So here we are. We've now got our our vacation request application database. You'll see that there's some forms in here, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to get rid of a number of these forms. These are all from the demo, and we'll get rid of them. You want to keep the information request and information responses if you want to use that part of it. The approval comment and the history are essential in here as well. Now we need to create an application document, and for that I'm going to need this replica ID to the vacation request. But before doing that, I'm just going to take a shortcut here and open the view WFS applications, all applications in the main database. And I'm going to open that in the notes view or notes client rather than the web. And I'm just, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to make a copy of the demo application, and I'm going to paste it in here, and then I'm going to open it, and I'm just going to change this to vacation requests. Save it. Okay. Now, that's not quite right, but we'll do the rest of it from within the XPages environment. So where to now? The next thing I'm going to do is open the application in the in XPages in the browser. So just hang on and I'll go and do that. Before switching to the browser, I've got one other little thing that I've got to do here. I'm just going to cut or copy this replica ID for the vacation request database into the clipboard because I'm going to need that to change that in the application document. So now I'm going to go over to the browser and I can select an application, and now here's vacation requests in here. Won't do anything because it's not set up, but we'll work on that one. So I'm going to go into the admin client, and I'm going to first of all open the applications, and here's the vacation request that we made a copy of it. And notice that the replica IDs are all the same for the vacation request is for the demo, and of course the application replica ID for the vacation request is different than it is for the demo. So here I come in to the field for the application database replica ID. I'm going to paste the replica ID from there. Now here's a little inconsistency. There's a colon there in the replica ID. JavaScript and Lotus Script do not like the colon in the replica ID, but @ formulas do. And little inconsistency, and can cause you some problems. So let's just get rid of it right there. Now I'm going to change the prefix on the reference number that's generated to VR for vacation requests. I haven't created these yet, but it gives me a hint as to some of the things that I need to do. And so I'm going to create a navigator called VR Nav, and I'm going to create another custom control called VR Default View, and I'm going to give us some flexibility, I'm going to create a role of VR Manager so that they can do things within here that others can't. Now, here's a place where you might want to restrict who can come into vacation request because it's in development stage. And so I have created a group called test users. And if I add that to here, only people in the test users are going to be able to see the vacation request applications at this point in time. So I'm going to change this to a vacation and an absence requests, and I'll explain why I'm going to use this for more than just vacation requests. So that should do it. We can enable the application is enabled. That means that we can get into it. If I just want to flat disable it and no one can get at it, and then I would say no, but I'm going to just submit this and save it. And now the lookup to get the right databases through this replica ID will now work correctly because we've got the correct replica ID pointing to it. So let's go back over to the designer and see what happens there. Okay, I'm back in the designer client for the vacation requests. Let's just go into the application, to the access control, to the roles, and you'll notice we got WFS admin and WFS manager here. Let's add another role to here, and we'll just call it VR Manager, and remember that we just set that up in the application, and so I'm going to say add that one in there, and then I'm going to go back to the basic, and the default, of course, we're going to have to now change this, and we'll change this to author and create databases, or create documents, sorry. You see, I've been set up as the manager and delete documents for it. I want to give myself WFS admin rights in this database. The development server needs WFS admin. We need to go to the advanced and make sure that our server is properly set up as the administrative server. And now we can assign I'm going to assign Barney Rubble, and we're going to make him a person, and I'm going to say has editor access and the VR manager role. Gives him more access and more processing power than the average user. You might even give delete document rights, but I'm not going to. So Barney kind of is the general manager of just this application, has no additional rights in any other application unless we specifically assign it. So we have the ACL reasonably set up here. They don't understand everyone as a minimum. Anyone who comes into the application must have author rights and create documents. So let's save that. And then we're going to go and we're going to take a look at the rule that we're going to use to govern this process. So while we were away, I took a couple of minutes and I built a custom control called VR rule input, and this is what it looks like. Now it's pretty simple kind of a form, but I want to step through it and show you some of the things that are included in this, and these are basic to an awful lot of things that we're going to do from now on. So the first issue with this custom control is that I need to define a data source, and I've just added a data source. I just call it document1. That's its default value, and it'll work for this process. Now it gets a little trickier, but not too difficult. And so this XPage is in the main database. So therefore, it wants to use the current database. But instead of doing that, I want to use a different database. And so therefore, I'm going to compute the name of the other database. And so this calls the application scope bean called app properties. It passes it the value in the session scope SS application. This is all set by the use of the menus. And then I just tell it to get the file path of the rule database. Now, so all of this is contained within the application scope app properties. So it's not computed every time that I look at it. It's only computed once at the application level, and it stays like that. And it is only a single set of objects that all users that are in this application use. It's only computed once. Does create some problems if we make changes that we may have to tell HTTP to stop and reload, but we'll come to that later. Then what I've done is I said, well, okay, what form do we want to use? And I've created a form over in the rules called form VR rule. What action do we want to take? And this will come into play more in the next part of this thing. But so I take a look and I say if the session scope SSUNID has a value in it, then I'm going to do the default, which is create a document. If not, I'm going to open an existing document. In other words, if I know that there is a UNID, then I open that document. If not, I create a new one. Fairly straightforward. And you'll see this in all kinds of places throughout our application where we do that. And we're just saying, go and get the data out of the rules database instead of out of this database. And you'll get very used to using this nomenclature of on this Java Bean of apps props, and you can go and take a look at the code for the Java Bean and get some look at that if you want to get into that. So, having done that, next thing here is this is just an image, and I put a title on it. Here is a custom control. The custom control is called, if we go into the source, is called WFS edit bar. The edit bar just simply is all of these buttons that control the actions on it. It has a custom property, and it says, okay, what is the data source that you want these buttons to act on? And in this case, we use a computed value, and we compute it to document 1, which is what we define for the data set. Now I've got the next piece of this, and this is a Dojo combo box, which allows you to enter values that are not in the return values. The date on it, it's bound to the department. And if I look at in the source at the select item, we see here that it does a computed list of documents. Now, here again, notice we're dealing with app props because I don't want to have to recompute this every time. I just want to go and get the value. So I go app props, and look here I say I want the rule database, and I want to get this view out of it. Now you'll notice that I use this process in a lot of places throughout my applications, and so I just set a Boolean value for debug to true or false. I'm going to turn it back to false. If it's true, this line will execute. This is a piece of code that just prints out to the server console and formats it a little bit. And it's real handy when you're debugging. And then finally, I'm going to return from the view the values in column 0. Now, this works as I'm doing this, but in actual fact, what I have to do is I need to do a view rules dot recycle. Okay, Now I can get around that by simply combining all of this in one statement. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here and get rid of the rest of this. Now that's going to do the same thing, but I'm not defining anything anywhere. I'm just going to go to app props, get the rule database, get the view, and get the column values and return them. There it is. I can actually probably, what I would do here is do this. I'll call that utils sysout, and I'll just put a message in here. So if at any time this line of code fails, I'll get this message in my in the server console log, and it'll be formatted with a WFS and some characters after it, so it becomes very obvious that it's coming from the workflow systems processes. So anyway, that will do for the selection on that. Go back over to Designer. In the type is the data is to document 1. Link to document 1 and the field is called type. If we look at the values, I've set they're a computed list, and I've just forced a number of that I'm just going to use as standard input. We could do this by lookup or any way that you would want to do this. And so when we come to use it, we'll select a value from here. Here's another custom control that I've added to this. It's a custom control for called WFS pick names, and it asks, okay, what field do I want to bind this to? I'm going to bind it to a field called approvers. There, I can specify default names. I don't have any. Again, computed value. What's the data source? Document 1. What's the title? Do we want to hide it or not? And obviously we don't want to hide it. Is it required? Yes. Are you allowed to put in multi-values? Is it read-only? And do we want to show groups, people, and roles? And we want to show all of them. And so this is my rule input form, and if you look in the demo, you'll see it's pretty similar to the form for the demo rule, but with different fields in it. In actual fact, what I did is I made a copy of the demo rules and then deleted the stuff I didn't want in it and added in the stuff I did want. So just much quicker to do it that way than try to start from scratch and reproduce everything every time you want to do it. So I'm going to save this. Now I want to test it. I want to see, is this going to blow up on me, or will it work? Now I have an X page called test error. It is just a real simple X page. If it has no data source attached to it, it has an event to set the session scope SS application, and I want to change that to the vacation request. So it's going to work with a vacation request. This is a computed field, just to the value for it is goes out. Whoops, there's app props again. There's the SS application that we just set. It's going to go and get the file path for the rule database. I just want to make sure that that part's working. And then I have a panel here, and I need to put the vacation request input form that we worked on over here. Now I messed that up, didn't I? Get the applications back. So I have this as my the custom control we just worked with. Now it's in the category WFS admin input over here on the right hand side, and I want to change that to vacation requests, and I'm going to save that. And now notice over here in this right hand panel I have a category for vacation requests, and this is my first piece of vacation requests, so in XPages, so there it is. So what I'm going to do is just going to take that, drag it and drop it into this panel. There we are. Don't need anything further. Remember, I did set the default or the session scope SS application to the vacation request, so this form will pick up those values. Okay, now let's go take a look in the web browser at the XPages. I'm logged in here. Now what I'm going to do is just change this so that I look at the XPage test error XSP that we just modified, and let's make sure that, hey, there it is. Okay, I can there's no values looked up in here for the department, so I can say the department finance, and I can pick a value from that list and add a value here. And so it looked like it's all working fine. I could submit the value, but I'm not going to right now because we're not in the proper perspective to do that. But now what we need to do is create some views and be able to get in and start navigating through the routing rules. And so to do that, we have to go back to the designer in the XPages. While we've been away, I've created a vacation request rule form in the Workflo rule database. I opened it. I've got a department, a type, and approvers. And also, I've created a couple of views. The first view is a view of the routing rules, and I've dummied up a few rules in here just so I've got something to work with. And it's categorized by the department, and then we see the type of absence or vacation request, and we see the approvers' names. In addition, I have another view here, which is a view that I'm going to use for lookup, and we look in here and we say we want this one to find the documents with the form equal to the form VR rule. We'll save that back in here, and there they are. So If I know the department and I know the kind of rule that I am trying to access, I can look it up in here and return the current approvers. And that's all nice and good in Notes, but we're not actually working in the Notes client, so what we need to do is create a custom control to show the vacation request rules in a view. And so I've gone ahead and done a little bit of work here as well. This is not really very much work, but the first thing I've done is I've created the custom control VR rule view, and I have added a custom control called CCWFS Cat1 template. So those are that template is contained, and we can find it over here under the templates. And there are actually 3 of them, and they're all very similar. There's a Cat 1 template, a Cat 2, and a Cat 3. We're using the Cat 1 because the rules are categorized by a single category. These are a series of templates that I use throughout the application, and you'll get very used to using them. I've added in here a spelling mistake. A header, an action button, and here's the action. Now actually I copied this from the demo, and so I need to change this, and the form we want to open when we do that is the VR rules. We're going to set the session scope SSUNID to nothing, and then we're going to redirect to the value of it contained in the app properties for where we want to be able to do create, read, update, and delete. And in our application document, we saw that was the XPages main input. If I look at this custom control and we look at the custom control properties, we're asked how many columns or how many rows do we want to display before it starts to page for the first category. 10 is lots, probably much less than that would work. And then where do we want to get the first category documents from? And that's the view VR rules. How many data rows do we want to display? I've set it at 5. It'll page anything more than that. Where do we get the data from? We're going to get the data from the same data as we get the views. And what is the target database? And we can specify the application, the rules, the help, or the main database. In this case, it's going to be the rules database. And then what I like to do is, just in testing, is to add in here, and just I'll delete that. What you find here is a facet that you can put whatever you want in there. And what I'd like to do when I'm testing these things is to just put a computed form in here. This custom control always returns the object or the document in something called VE data, view entry data. It looks an awful lot like a view entry. I think that's what it is that gets returned. In any case, that's what I call it, and that works. So now I'm going to save this. Now if we go up to our XPage XPages and go to our test error XPage that we used before, we can see that our before load we enter the vacation request, so we're looking at the right application. So I come in here, go over to the vacation requests. Where did it get to? There it is. And I'm going to drop the vacation request view into here and save it. And then I'm going to go back over to my browser and we'll take a look at it. Okay, here we are in the web browser with the opening the test error page. Looks fairly similar to what I had in the designer. And if I click on any of these, we see the resulting value. Now, not very informative and not the way that you would want to do it, but let's just for the moment take this as is, and we'll go back and in the designer modify this and make it look the way we want it. So let's go back to the designer. Okay, here we are back in the designer in the VR rules view. And what I want to do to begin with is here in this facet, I've taken the computed field out of there. And I like to, first of all, just throw a panel in here. A facet, if you haven't worked with XPages, can contain only one thing, but the container that you put in there can contain many. So by putting a panel in here, it's pretty open and you can do just about anything you want. My next is I'm going to put a table inside the panel, and I'm going to make it one row, 2 columns. Now, if I go back over here to the demo rules view, I see here's the label that is used as the link to open the document. So I'm just going to copy that and bring it over here, and I'm going to paste it into this first column. Now, here's the action that's behind it, and so all we have to do is change that to VR rules. All of the rest of this stuff is going to remain exactly the same. So there's not much point or need to do a lot of work on it. If I go to the properties, and the label itself is it's getting the column value department, but I don't want the column value department. I want the value type. Then in here, I'm going to put a computed field. And this is just going to contain the approvers. Okay, and we're going to do some cut and paste here because it's easier to do. And so now what I'm going to do is, but now I'm just going to return approvers. If I save that and go back over to my browser and refresh it, here you go. Okay, still not really what we want, but now this is a link to actually open that document. All right, Same thing here and there. I'll go back to the client, and this field is kind of ugly because it's not being formatted, and so I'm going to apply some formatting to it. Okay, just jump back to the demo rules view, and you know what? This field here will do just about everything I want with a couple of modifications to it. So I'm going to copy that. And now I'm going to get rid of this field that I put in here, and I'm going to paste this one in its place. Okay, now if I highlight the notice that first of all the contents is listed as being HTML. And the values it gets get the column value, and I just want to get the column value approvers, and it's going to implode that with a break. So it will put it as multi-values in a list. I'm going to make a couple of other changes here while I'm in here into this cell. I'm going to make this align top, and then I'm going to we'll do something with the font. Let's use Tahoma, and we'll make it 10 point, and we'll make it dark blue. Oh, we already got it dark blue there. Let's make it red. Okay, and I'll save that. I'll go back over to the browser and we'll take a look and see what it does. So we're now back over in the browser, and if I click on there, okay, I see annual vacation, and it goes test user 1, test user 2, and if it's sick leave, it goes to accounting. Now, it isn't lining up particularly well, and so I need to set some values for the table, but all that is just window dressing kind of stuff. So basically, here we are. The routing rules are now basically ready to go. And so to fix that alignment a little bit, I'm just going to go into the table cell. I'll set the width in pixels, and I'll make it 100. And so there you go. That'll fix that up nicely. And now our routing rules are ready to go. I'm going to end this session here, and we will start a session in the next one where we'll create some of the navigation issues that we need to be able to make this work. So we'll look forward to seeing you in that session, and thank you for watching. So here's my contact information. Feel free to give me a shout on the phone or drop me an email. Visit our site, and we can get some more information from there as well. Look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thanks for being with us today.